Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of What's for Dinner. I hope you're all doing well. Remember, nothing you guys hear tonight should be considered medical advice. Make sure you reach out to your highly trained and knowledgeable medical provider if you have any medical questions. Yeah, so what's that look for? All right, guys, let's go over and talk a little bit about our low insulin way of eating that we're going to be eating tonight. So starting off over here, we're going to kind of go backwards. We have Rosette's dough mix. And also, is it the same thing with the cinnamon rolls?
Yeah.
Okay, so we use Rosette's dough mix, and Teresa's going to grab a bag really quick for cinnamon rolls, and these are left over from last night. So rosettesmix.com, and so this is like really good bridge foods for those of you who are just starting out in keto, and you want something to kind of get you past those sugar cravings.
And I shared the recipe on Facebook last night, but if you're on YouTube, just go to rosettesmix.com and then go under her cinnamon roll picture, and she has the filling and the frosting and everything.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go on those. And then Teresa made chaffles tonight. So there's a couple of her finished chaffles, and then she melted some using Munster cheese on those. And then tonight she made me a goulash. So she took, we have some lean ground beef. It's probably, I don't know, 90-10, 90 protein, 10 fat. And I like a little bit heavier fat. So what she did is she added in some eggs, you can see that are in there. And then she also put in some homemade seasoning, taco seasoning. And what's in the taco seasoning, hon?
Oh, cumin,
pepper,
chili powder. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. But this is homemade. So we mixed it together. That way we knew what ingredients were going in it. And there's our waffle maker. And then over here we've got I had her also add this Wagyu beef tallow to the ground beef to give it a little bit more fat. And of course we've always got our Jane's Crazy seasoning and our Redmond's real salt. All right. And then, hon, you had your little bit of leftover spinach dip.
Oh, yeah,
there.
we had spinach dip last night. So this is how much is left over. So people ask me, like I saw a new patient today, and he asked, how much do I eat veg? And I do think that we do ketovore, which is probably 90-95% meat, and then 5-10% coffee, some sort of vegetable once a week, seasonings. I mean, some carnivores don't use seasonings.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I'm just going to keep the cameras the way they are and just talk the way we're talking tonight. So,
okay.
Yeah, this is working out really well. You guys know we got those new fancy things that you can spin around, and they'll actually look at both of us. But this is actually working. So
I think two of us confuse them a little, maybe.
Maybe a little bit too much, but we can go back to that once in a while. So tonight, I think the topic of conversation was going to be kids and ADHD, behavior in school, things like that.
So a lot of posts are getting shared, and people send them to me all the time. Menus for school breakfast, and it's Fruit Loops, Cheerios, and then I shared that last week on Facebook. But there is a Tufts Nutritional School ranking of food, and Fruit Loops is higher than beef. Beef and eggs are at the bottom, but they want you eating all the junk food with dyes and artificial flavorings and all this other stuff. And we wonder why kids have a hard time concentrating in school or have poor behavior in school, poor performance. So, you know, type 1 diabetes, which is juvenile diabetes, is on the rise. I have some theories about that as well. But the problem is, every time you go to the doctor, the pediatrician, they ask you, are you wearing sunscreen? Are you wearing a helmet? Are you wearing seatbelt? They're not looking for things to go wrong. They wait for it to happen. So then a kid gets diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, gets put in the ICU with a blood sugar of 700. And what do they get fed in the hospital? Pancakes with sugar-free syrup, of course, muffins and juice, which is all sugar. So it's just kind of very backwards. Insulin resistance in kids and children are the fastest growing demographic, even as young as 2 to 5. So that is profound. First of all, when I got pregnant, I used it as an excuse to do whatever I wanted. And so eat whatever I wanted. So I just made my kids addicts in the womb. They start to get their taste buds and their taste preferences solidified in the womb. So that can happen. And then obesity. There are so many kids now, they get sent home saying they have poor school behavior and performance, that then they get put on ADHD meds. Now, maybe some are warranted, but I feel like before we put kids on stimulants as young as kindergartners, that we should make sure and ask about their sleep and their lifestyle and their home life and all of this other stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? I know you guys agree.
Yeah. Well, another thing too that we talked about this earlier, they don't talk about is things like, the kids have replaced riding around in the streets with bicycles with playing video games
Yeah.
or getting on their phones and having, all this, this screen time.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem too. There's limited activity, there's limited exercise. And I thought it was interesting. It made me think of back, when I was contracting for the government overseas, we were teamed up with some military units that were experimenting with some new technology. And the technology was inside the vehicles. They could actually control the weapon systems from inside the vehicle. And so they started off with old, like, joysticks. If any of you guys remember the old Ataris and stuff like that. So they had just, like a military type application. Anyway, the kids coming out of school, they didn't do well with those. The accuracy and the hand-eye coordination just wasn't there using it. So they just switched the controls to Xbox and Nintendo controls. That's literally what they were using in these military vehicles to fire machine guns and grenade launchers and all kinds of fun toys.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
well, the more the kids get insulin resistant, and then ADHD medicines then make you not eat very well. It's a stimulant. So then you lose weight. Then you can't sleep very well. So that impacts your sleep, and it just keeps things going. But the same thing that happens in dementia and Alzheimer's is you get type 3 diabetes. Your brain becomes severely insulin resistant and cannot uptake the glucose. So, we don't want any of that. It's interesting that epileptics have a higher incidence of ADHD, and keto was originally designed for epilepsy.
Epileptic children.
Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, I just said insulin resistance increases ADHD because your brain can't concentrate. Can't uptake nutrients. Yeah. So.
Yep. And I think it should be mentioned too that the diet you were talking about earlier that they give them, the food that they give them in like hospitals and stuff like that, those are federally mandated diets.
Right. You have to do that or you don't get federal money.
Yeah. And the schools also.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, wow. It's profound.
That's a good word, right? I'm like, that's not even the word. But so what can you do? You just have to be aware. And if your kids are younger, you can really be a little tyrannical with it and just say, we don't eat like that. That's how we were with our kids. They were 11, but we were struggling to stay on course. Now our kids are older, have jobs, have cars, so they can go do whatever they want, but we taught them the foundation. They feel good when they eat a certain way. They know when they've gotten too far off the rails. They understand addiction. So at some point, all I'm saying is they'll be able to go back and utilize what they learned.
Ours have come around. Our children have come around. So we started off, strict with when they were younger. And then they kind of rebelled a little bit later. Naturally, they started hanging out with, doing more parties and hanging out with friends where we weren't there. And you kind of, they get older, the parent loses a little bit of control. You have to relinquish some of that control. And then as we did that, we also relinquished what they were, the control over the foods they were eating. But then, and then there's a period I feel like we were a little bit frustrated with the kids were eating a lot of junk food. And it was like, ended up being more than we would have liked to see.
Yeah.
But now they've come full circle.
Yes.
And now they're back to mostly eating the way we do.
Yep.
So, and that was without any kind of, prompting by us this time.
No.
Yeah.
Rob Seifus, who is the carb addiction doc on YouTube, he talks about kids and ADHD all the time, but processed carbs are a neuroaddictive drug. Yeah. And most of us snack as an emotional behavior. So you break up with your boyfriend, you sit in front of the TV. It's just this mindless snacking. I got to have something crunchy. It still happens to me if I get sick, like if I get COVID or a cold, I instantly want, the carbohydrates, the comfort food. So you just got to figure all of that out. And I would say help teach your kids the reasons why. When we were a little tyrannical, it wasn't just like, we're the boss. It was like, this is the consequences that we're trying to prevent or help. And when they got a little bit older, I started using the word cancer and just, different things. Just this is what it is.
And it was good that you had a clinic that you were working in that entire time. So you could come back with literal case studies, sort of like the ones that we do here, on What's for Dinner, and explain to the kids, well, this person came in today and this is what they suffered from. And this is what I did for them. And the kids, so the kids heard that firsthand. And I don't understand not everybody listening will have that same, benefit, but nonetheless, you can find creative ways to sort of, get in your 2 cents about, keto, carnivore, low carb.
Yeah. The Alzheimer's that you may get at 70 started at 35. The heart attack that you may get at 55 started at 30. So the way you're eating now is setting yourself up for a trajectory of health or, ill health.
Yep, for sure. All right.
Is that a good time?
Yeah, I think that we're doing great right now. Yeah. So if you're good, I'm good.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. It's the hardest part. And we've been MIA because we had a women's conference Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Mark volunteered from like 6 a.m. to 10 or 11 at night. Yeah. And then I went and but we saw a woman there that we know and watches us, and she's just like, getting started is the hardest part. And it's just like, it is. I mean, it is.
Find a partner in crime and do it with them. It'll make things much easier. Hold each other accountable. And like I said, start somewhere.
Yes.
I know it's a lot. It's overwhelming. Where do I start? Just find something and do it. And then that'll start the process, and it'll become a snowball effect from there.
Yes.
And you'll get on the, you'll start catching up with everything. So, yes. All right, guys.
What time are we at? Oh,
I'm so sorry.
It'll be fine. Just.
Hope everybody's still there. We just had a severe accident with the phone. Wow.
Is All right. On?
It's on. It's okay. Good to go. So sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, well, share with us what you guys are having for dinner. If you have any questions, shoot them our way. As always, we love you and God bless you. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.